Hi, it's great to see you. I am super excited to share my recipe for banana chocolate chip muffins with you. I've been making these for years, and anytime someone tries them, they always ask for the recipe. I think you're gonna love them, so let's get started. I'll show you how to make them. Before we begin, you'll just need to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and drop parchment baking cups into the wells of a 12-well muffin tin. One last note, it's always a really great idea to just set out all of your ingredients already measured. It makes the whole baking process a lot more fun and easy. So our very first step will be to make our flax egg. I'm actually using ground chia seed, but either ground chia or ground flax is perfect for this. So I've got a tablespoon of that in my bowl, and I'm gonna add a quarter cup of water. And then I'll just whisk this together with a fork and set it aside to congeal. It'll form an egg-like consistency and serve as our binder to hold all of the ingredients together. I've also got a cup of rolled oats in a bowl here, and I'm gonna combine them with some plain unsweetened almond milk. I'm also gonna add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna stir this around and set it aside for a moment until later, just to let the oats soak and soften. For our next step, we'll just pull out our big mixing bowl and combine the dried ingredients. We'll start with a cup of whole wheat flour, and then we'll add a half cup of oat flour and a half cup of almond flour. We're also gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and I always do this over the sink in case I spill some. And then one last dry ingredient is a teaspoon of cinnamon, and that might be surprising for this flavor combination, but it's actually delicious, so I highly recommend it. Include it, give it a try, and let me know in the comments what you think. We're gonna stir the dry ingredients together, and I'll just keep stirring until I don't see any streaks of cinnamon, so it's all nice and evenly incorporated. And then my last step will be to push the ingredients out to the side a little bit and form a well in the center of my dry ingredients. And that's where we'll be adding the wet ingredients. We're gonna set aside the mixing bowl for just a moment now and grab a plate so we can mash the bananas. I've got 3 nicely ripened bananas here, and I'm gonna peel them first and just place them on the plate. Now I'm gonna take my fork and just mash the bananas with the back of it. Keep mashing and stirring until the moisture is released from the bananas and they look a little bit like the consistency of applesauce. Okay, we're all set, so I'm gonna set that aside and return to our large mixing bowl again. The first wet ingredient we'll add will be the rolled oats that we've soaked in almond milk with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. These will go right into that well in the center of the dry ingredients. Then we'll add the mashed banana. Then I'll add just a quarter cup of full-fat coconut milk from a can. And finally, I'll also add the ground chia seed. You can see it's turned into the consistency of an egg. And that's gonna help hold all the ingredients together. Now we're gonna mix the wet ingredients together first. So I'm gonna give that a nice stir, just in the center of the bowl at first. And then gradually kind of work our way outward and incorporate the dry ingredients. Now the amount of moisture in the batter at this point will depend a little bit on the moisture that was in your bananas, which can vary a little bit. So we may need to add a little more almond milk to get the muffin batter to the consistency we're looking for. And it looks like that'll be the case today. Now I recommend doing this just a splash at a time, a tablespoon at most, because a little goes a long way at this point. We don't want the batter to be overly wet. You want to be careful with muffins not to over stir. The reason is because once the baking powder comes in contact with the wet ingredients, it starts to activate. And little gas bubbles get trapped in the batter, and we don't want to over stir and release them before they do their work to help the muffins rise in the oven. So as soon as you stop seeing streaks of flour, then you can stop stirring the muffin batter. We'll want it to be thick and wet, a little bit runny, but not too much. At this point, we'll add in our stir-in. So for this recipe, it's gonna be a half a cup of dairy-free mini chocolate chips. So we'll sprinkle the chocolate chips on top of the batter. And then again, to not disturb the activity of the baking powder too much, we're gonna fold these in, which means rolling your spatula under the batter and kind of folding it over on top of itself in as few strokes as possible, just enough so that the chocolate chips look like they're evenly mixed throughout the batter. And the muffin batter is all ready to go into the pan. You're gonna grab a soup spoon, and if you've got one, a small silicone spatula. And I'm gonna grab some of the batter with my spoon and direct it into the well of the muffin tin with the spatula. This would be a great time to put on some nice music and just thoroughly enjoy the baking process. If I have a Saturday afternoon free, it's one of my favorite things to do. Okay, these are all set. I'm gonna set the mixing bowl aside. I'm just gonna grab a piece of wet paper towel so I can wipe away the extra batter I dropped on the pan. Okay, one last fun tip. If you plan to present these to your friends, or you'd like to take pictures of them, maybe for your Instagram, after you make this muffin recipe, one really fun thing I like to do is to drop just a few additional chocolate chips on top of the muffins before I bake them. And the reason I do this is because then once the muffins bake, they look nice and photogenic and appetizing and enticing. So if you'd like to do that, now would be the time. Okay, these are ready to go in. So I will open this up and slide them in. Now I'll set the timer for 33 minutes and we'll be very patient, and then I'll show you the finished product. Okay, the timer just went off, so these muffins are ready to come out of the oven. As you can probably see, they're golden on top, fluffy, they've risen quite a bit, and they're beautiful. All right, so once they've sat in the pan for 10 minutes, you can just pull these out of the muffin pan and set them on a wire cooling rack to cool the rest of the way. If you can, it's a great idea to wait until they're completely cool before you pull off the parchment baking cup liners, because they'll come off more easily that way and they won't risk pulling apart the muffin. If you can. I know it's hard. These are cool and ready to eat. I'm so excited to dig in. Just look at the beautiful texture of these muffins. They're perfect. I'm gonna pull away the parchment baking cup. And of course it comes off super easily. Remember, you can compost these. And I'll just break into the muffin here so you can take a look. It's just like a traditional muffin. And it is so delicious. I'm gonna have some right now. So nobody would guess that these are completely vegan and super wholesome. Of course, part of my mission in creating this YouTube channel for you is to prove over and over again that whole food plant-based meals can be absolutely delicious. I mean, look at these, the house smells amazing. So remember to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you won't miss any recipes, and then over time, you won't be saying to yourself, I can't believe this is vegan. You'll be saying like, yeah. Vegan food can be delicious, and I feel great about how good it is for me and the planet and the animals, and yum yum yum. Yum yum yum. Okay, if you're feeling inspired and you want to make this recipe too, there's a link below to the full written version of this recipe so you can make them at home. And if you do, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Stephanie of Green Sage, wishing you good health and delicious food. I'll see you next time.